Thank you for choosing CTN. And now, it's time with Herman and Sharron.
Just a moment before we go into a powerful interview. Betty and Lonnie Rex have been a part of our family. Actually, we don't live even close to each other, but in 1980, I stepped into this studio, in fact, just a few feet from where I'm standing right now. Met Lonnie Rex for the first time. Didn't realize that I was meeting a world-class musician. He and Betty take two grand pianos and put them nose to nose, and they play the most gorgeous symphonies you've ever heard. I didn't know who I was talking to, but later on I found out that he was the head of the David Livingstone Missionary Foundation. And that foundation, that ministry, that mission project began so that he could fulfill his boyhood dream of being like the little boy with the fishes and loaves that fed the thousands. And actually, he fulfilled that dream. Built something like 24 orphanages, hospitals. He has been summoned by presidents of the United States to go to countries and talk to diplomats. He has gone into countries and helped raise funds for floods, devastating earthquakes, famines. Unbelievable how God has used Lonnie and Betty Rex. You're about to hear about my amazing adventures with God. Join us. I love you. Thank you for joining us.
Hi, everybody.
This is my first wife, Sharron, right here.
That's it. First and only.
54 years. We'll be 55 years this year.
Coming up.
This year, that's right. Congratulations, by the way.
And I'm only 56, so go figure it.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah. We have two of our favorite individuals
They really
that
are.
we've known.
And we haven't seen either one of them for, what, 3 years
I
at
know.
least.
I've known Lonnie since 1980. He was here at one of our first telethons.
That's right.
About just a few feet from us right now, standing over there in a kind of a little cove. This place was set up for a telethon. And I introduced myself, and once you meet Lonnie Rex, first of all, he's so distinguished looking that I thought he was probably the senator of Florida or something. And so I'm standing next to him, and we just started a conversation, and I'm telling you, this is the truth. We have been, since 1980, having a conversation 2 or 3 times a year, I would say, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
I mean, and it's gotten to be so funny because if I'm thinking of him, I mean, really strongly thinking of Lonnie Rex, and it's happened so many times that it's almost like when I tell it to him, he's got to think, oh, he's making that up. But when he calls me, I'll go, Lonnie, you won't believe this. I was literally thinking about you and going to make a call. And so it's just kind of been that way. And Betty, she's been my buddy ever since she allowed me to, they had a great condo in Tulsa. And I came to visit Lonnie and Betty. In fact, we did some things with David Livingstone Missionary Foundation we're going to be talking about.
Yeah.
And she allowed me to stay in a designated room for only Dino Carcinakis. So I felt so honored when I laid in that bed.
Very honored guy.
Yes, and she fixed me back breakfast and everything. Lonnie and Betty Rex, good to have you guys.
So great to be here.
Nice to be here.
It's been a long time, hasn't it?
Yes.
That's right.
Goodness, good. Can you imagine 2014? And we've waited this
I know
long
it.
to get together.
And I'll be 86 this year.
Wow, that's amazing.
You guys, and by the way, can
Yeah, don't
Preston,
forget the,
Preston, I got to
child.
have a shot of Matti. Matti right there, he's coming, don't worry. There's Matti. And they got out of the car, and I took Matti for a walk so she could do her business. And I wanted Matti on the show. So this is a first for Matti. And
She's
but
doing very well.
I
too.
love dogs. and Matti is the most well-mannered. And Matti almost knows it's on. You know, I don't know whether it saw itself. That's what it's doing. It's getting a little nervous. Matti, we're only going to ask you your name and address. That's it. Okay? But you guys have traveled all over the world.
Yes.
Now,
Well, it says right here, Dr. Lonnie Rex was the most connected Christian in the world in the second half of the 20th century.
Yes.
Wow, that's quite a title,
That's quite
isn't
a
it?
statement.
and this is his, the reason they're here, and by the way, this whole schedule as far as production was off, but when Lonnie hit town and said, this is the only time I can do this, we said, let's do it. So we wanted to,
brand new book.
Yes, we wanted to spotlight his latest book, My Amazing Adventures with God, from polio and paralysis to walking with the Pope.
Yeah.
So you have been one of the most prolific travelers. You have been every place, and there was a time when Lonnie would not say anything about all the things you've done because you felt you were bragging.
Yep.
What changed that?
I was in T.L. Osborne's home one day, and he said, I'm not hearing where you've been and what you're doing. And I said, no, I don't want to brag about that. And I thought he hit me on the head with a brick. And he looked at me, you know T.L. Osborne,
Yeah.
he talks very straight.
Yes.
He looked at me and he said, hey, dummy. That was my name. He said, don't you know that Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John in the Bible, all that is those guys working for the Lord and giving Him praise. Why don't you tell your testimonies and give God the praise? That's why I wrote the book, and there's 4 books following because I had so much material.
Unbelievable. Well,
What a life.
yeah, Betty Rex says in here, words from my loving wife. My dear husband was stricken with polio in 1937. When he was 9, he spent over a year of his childhood in Oklahoma Children's Hospital for several operations. He wore leg braces until college, even with one leg shorter than the other and limping in pain. He touched the world, literally. So you didn't let what could have been a debilitating
She
handicap.
thinks that's what drove me. I couldn't do it, so I had
That's
to
right.
do it.
Yeah.
I've got to share this on the back, and I mean this is amazing too. He was one of the most connected Christians in the world in the second half of the 20th century, which Sharron just alluded to. He connected with world leaders and the most influential religious individuals on the planet. Among the people in Lonnie's realm were Oral Roberts, T.L. Osborne, Pope John II, Mother Teresa, Gorbachev, President George H.W. Bush, President Ronald Reagan, which was my favorite president, John Osteen, President Putin, Muhammad Ali, on and on and on.
God opened the doors, and I picked up my right foot and took the first step.
Do you remember?
God slung my left foot with me.
It's amazing, and you never missed a beat, because Sharon and I used to say, how can he go to all of these countries, all of these different time zones, with all of the schedules that you had to live up to, and come back and still be living?
What a privilege it was.
Now you
Never thought of it as a sacrifice.
You called me years ago and said to me, Herman, you won't believe this. The door has been opened for me to go to North Korea.
Yep,
Do you remember that call?
right.
Now, this is before the son,
Right.
okay? This was the dad.
Yeah.
Why did you end up in North Korea?
When I was in Russia a few months before, Gorbachev owned a television station where he used to come up and do telethons
Yes,
with.
yes, in Ohio.
He learned to own a television station, and they had me staying at the prelate of the Russian Orthodox Church. They thought I was religious, so they put me over there. Gorbachev asked if I knew anything about telethons. I said, yeah, we live by them. He said, will you set me up a telethon? We have just backed out of Afghanistan. You might remember that.
Yes, yeah.
And I want to raise
Which
money.
they were smart and
they
did.
did. And I want to raise money for Afghan veterans' children. So and he gave me the top talent of Russia. I put together a 12-hour telethon from noon till midnight. Every television set in all of Russia and all of their
I bet.
satellites
Better be.
were on. And what the great thing was, they couldn't write checks. They didn't have a checking system. So they had to get out of their beds or out of their chair and dig the money out of the backyard or under the mattress and take the money to the local television station. So it was a great effort for them to do that.
Now,
But the reason North Korea ambassador to Russia saw the program, and he told the head leader, the dictator of North Korea, and soon after that he died, and they had a great famine. And we get a call one morning at 4 o'clock in the morning.
Now listen to this.
4 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
This is North Korea calling. Can you come? My answer is always yes.
Yes.
If God makes the telephone call,
Yeah.
Prompts it,
Yeah.
you answer yes. Wow. I said, when do you want me to come? Thinking in a week or two or
Yeah.
three. Can you come today?
Wow.
I said, sure. I'll have to go to my office in Seoul, Korea, and get a visa. I don't have a visa for China because you've got to go to Beijing first and then to Pyongyang. So, and I got up, I bought a ticket to LA, I bought a ticket to Seoul, Korea. I got the visa for Beijing, and I landed in Beijing without telling anybody my schedule. 7 North Korea agents met me at the airline and escorted me to the hotel, locked the door, give me your passport, we'll go get your visa for North Korea. Don't answer the phone, don't go to the door, we'll be back. Here I'm sitting in China, no passport, gave it to the North Korea agents.
You just don't know fear anyway.
No, if the Lord sent you,
Yeah,
He
that's
has
right.
to take care of everything.
Yeah, that's right.
In a couple of hours, they came back. We flew into North Korea, one of the greatest experiences of my life.
Now, do you help them, raise crops or something? You told them a method?
That's another story.
Okay. Because, I mean, he would call me and tell me these phenomenal things, and I'm going, what? You actually told them how they could double their production.
Well, on this particular night, I went to my mansion on the dictator's grounds. 7 of the top departments leaders met with me, and they had a scroll, one of the old-fashioned scrolls,
Yeah.
and said, this is what we need. 100 million tons of rice, we're in a famine, 100 tons of paper to print school books for the children, and then they went on down the scroll. It would take 7 or 8 countries, not just one NGO. And by the time he got to the bottom, I got mad and slapped my leg, and I said, I didn't know I was insulting them. I said, why don't you get smart like the Chinese? President Carter was over here for a few years ago. He has a cousin that runs CNN. I'll bring President Carter, I'll bring CNN over here. We'll have your biggest hall, we'll have a big banquet, and we'll open North Korea to the whole world. Look what happened to China. And they all jumped up and said, can we leave? And left. I went upstairs and went to bed. I was tired. About 10 o'clock at night. Hello, can we come back? All right. I had to get up, dress, go downstairs, and they all come back. This time they had 2 interpreters. One on one side of me, one on the other. The new interpreter was head of the English department of Pinyon University. Because they didn't believe, this interpreter interpreted what I said. And so we always had 2 interpreters, and they said, say again what you said, because we don't believe the interpreter told it right.
Oh my goodness.
And then he said, you know, we took your passport at the airport. And I said, yes.
Does Matti want to get repositioned?
I think she's all right now.
Okay, good.
And he said, we have called your wife and told her you will be delayed. And they had my passport.
I don't know if I would want that call in North Korea.
Something went up and down my spine. I don't know what it was. And I said, well, as long as I'm here, what can I do for you? And they took me over the entire country of North Korea, met with all of the general officials and the generals and the different departments. You got her? And spent a whole week with them. One of the greatest weeks I've ever had.
Wow.
I got home, I was so exhausted, went to bed. 4 o'clock in the morning, the phone rang. Hey, this is North Korea. Can you come back? Well, when do you want me to come back? Can you come back today? Yes. I made my trip back. 3 times I was there. 3 times. I brought 7 of their top officials to the Carter Center to try to make peace. About that time, the Olympic was in Atlanta.
Yeah.
And we brought 7 of their Olympic people, different department, different areas, to Atlanta, and we got Coca-Cola to pay for their
Goodness gracious.
their time.
That's just one
That is
instance.
and
yeah.
the ambassador from North Korea to Russia now is the Minister of Justice.
Oh.
And of North Korea, and his son, when he comes out to Beijing, gives me a call, and we're still in close contact with him.
Goodness gracious. Well, his uncle wasn't too close to him. He just died. he just had him. So, but I mean, that country is absolutely closed, but you were able to get in, and that's phenomenal.
Yeah.
Now,
They told me my home telephone was the only number they had in the United States that they could call.
Wow.
okay, he told me this story a long time ago. You said he's the son of a Pentecostal holiness preacher, and it really is amazing. And he became literally God's ambassador to the world.
Yeah.
But you told me a long time ago that when you heard the story of the little boy with the loaves and fishes, that you wanted to be that little boy.
I wanted to be that little boy.
And you literally,
Every
through
time he
this
would preach it,
missionary, David Livingston Missionary Foundation, became what, Betty, 24 orphanages, was it?
25.
25. 25 orphanages. In fact, I don't know if we can see that picture, Preston, next to the piano right there, but that's just an idea of Lonnie. There he is, with some of his little buddies, and I got all kinds of pictures down here because I keep everything. He sent me these years ago because Action 60s helped raise some funds for the David Livingston Foundation. But here's a picture. You can see at the top it says, I'll hold it. Is that okay? Yeah, good. At the top of this, I'll just drop it down so you can see it. David Livingston Home for Boys. And there's Lonnie.
Nasik, India.
My goodness. I mean, that is just makes your cold chills happen to you, knowing what this guy has been blessed and how God has called him. And here it is, the Livingston Community Chapel. Look at that.
In the Philippines.
In the Philippines.
Dedicated to my father. Wow. And that's real Filipino style. The roof is leaves, palm leaves.
Wow.
And it's so great because the heat, and you're sitting there in church 11 o'clock on Sunday morning, and the breeze goes through the leaves, and it keeps it cool.
Oh, my
isn't that
goodness.
something?
Isn't that beautifully designed?
I can see it right over here.
Yeah.
Yeah. And here's another one. I just grabbed these, by the way. There's no
This is a
order.
hospital.
Yeah, this
Lonnie
is
Rex
Lonnie
Hospital.
Rex Hospital in another part.
Sevagram, Bangladesh. Wow. How that happened, we've always went and been a part of all tsunamis or world disasters. Bangladesh had just received independence. They had a tsunami. We took our doctors and landed in Dhaka. The president met all of the NGOs who's coming in from around the world, and he said, all you guys want to stay here in the capital and live in the hotels and have food. Who wants to go where no one wants to go? I raised my hand.
That's Lonnie and Betty.
That's Lonnie.
And you traveled with him, didn't you, all the
She's
time?
been there.
Yes.
She's been there.
I've been to Bangladesh.
And they took our doctors and on the president's helicopter. It's by driving, it's 8 hours across 3 ferries into the jungle and dropped them in the jungle where it was worst hit. And for the first 3 days, we were pulling bodies out of the tops of the trees.
Oh, my goodness.
Okay.
And with our tents, it started the hospital. In 25 years,
Goodness.
we ran the hospital. But I must tell you,
Okay, go ahead, Lonnie.
got a break?
I got to ask him a question real quick.
right here, let me tell you this.
We got 6 minutes left, by the way.
4 years ago, the river that separates Bangladesh and India changed course, came inland, and washed the hospital away.
Completely
The
out.
whole village and the Betty Rex school down the river.
Oh, my goodness.
Okay, all these years of traveling to all these countries, how did you keep from getting some kind of contagious disease
what's
or
been bothering
something?
Sharon.
I know. It's been amazing how God's protected you, actually.
It really has.
It really has.
Been a very-
Both of them. Both of
Yeah.
you
Because
guys.
in third world countries, I mean, my goodness.
As long as you
Yes.
got a jar of peanut butter, some
Yeah.
crackers,
Well,
you can make it.
Yeah.
in fact, you were the beginning of many top evangelists that we know today.
Yes.
And Oral Roberts, you literally began his mailing list, and you would even write the letters, and of course,
I really was the director of his television, put him on television.
because he could not get on TV. So you figured out a way to get him on NBC.
You want that story?
Yeah.
Well, we got 4 minutes.
I got time.
Okay.
Go.
I went to work for for Oral Roberts,
That took a minute. I'm sorry.
June 1955. He brought me in his office. He said, the first thing I want you to do is get my television program on Tulsa. I'm so embarrassed. I'm not on my hometown. They will not take a healing hand or a tent revival, and they've said no, no, no. Well, I was brash. I was in my 20s. I said, Oral, I'll do that today. What else you want?
What is amazing, he was making $100,000 a year on a significant job. Oral Roberts hired him for $1,000 a month. Just thought I'd throw that in.
Well, you know, when God says go, you
Yeah,
go.
yeah,
He has a drive.
yeah.
That's
I know
what it is.
I know it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he does.
So I went to Channel 2. They blessed me out. We've told everybody we don't want anything to do
Yeah.
with that hand.
Yeah.
I went to Channel 6. They cussed me out. I went to Channel 8. I got as far as the doorbell. They said, we've told everyone we don't want anything to do with it. Don't even come in. cut it off. I failed, first day. I went back to the apartment.
But that doesn't bother Lonnie.
Well, I thought, Lord, I've lost my connection. And I quit. I sat there in the chair. I was too embarrassed to go back to the office. So I sat there and argued with God for a while, and I said, I'm going to quit in the morning. In the morning, tell me where I'm going. And I looked in the paper, and there was a Rolls-Royce classic car meet. I wanted to go see that.
This guy loved Rolls Royces.
I love classic cars,
Yeah.
so I go down to the car meet and I get in the Rolls Royces. I didn't know that the biggest collection of classic Rolls Royces in the United States was in a little town about 20 miles from there. So this was a big meet.
Mm-hmm.
And finally they gave out the papers, the red ribbons, and everybody left, and this guy came up to me. And he said, and he knew I didn't have one of the Rolls Royces. He said, you're new around here. Who are you and what do you do? I said, I'm Lonnie Rex. I'm with the Oral Roberts television program. He said, oh. He didn't put out his hand. He didn't say, nice to meet you. And I was kind of embarrassed. I thought, this is kind of rude. So finally I just said, well, who are you? What do you do? He said, my name is Jimmy Lake. I own Channel 8. How can I help you?
How can I help you?
I said, I want to put Oral Roberts on your station. Oh.
And what time did you ask for?
What day? I said, Sunday. What time? 8 o'clock
A.M., right?
a.m. You
He
got
shook
it,
hands.
brother.
He shook hands. Got it done.
Got it done.
That's God.
That's God.
I have to tell you.
So much in this book.
I don't know if you can see my book, but every page almost I've bent over. It is a fantastic read.
Yes.
You only heard just about that much of this guy's life because when you say to the Lord, here am I, send me. He said that, and God took him up on
That's
his
right.
word, and he married this phenomenal lady that helped me all during the 30th anniversary telethon. She called me about every day. I had $1 million goal, and we missed the $1 million by 50,000. Thank you, Betty, for helping me. God bless you. Bye-bye.
Thank you for watching It's Time. If you have recently made a decision for Christ, Herman and Sharron would like to hear from you.